Born to rise, the cold wind howled through the narrow alleyways of the city's poorest district, down to the dim flicker of a broken streetlight. A boy no older than 10 stood barefoot on the icy pavement, clutching a torn backpack to his chest. His name was Aarav. To the world, he was just another street kid, another forgotten face among thousands. But to himself, he was something more, something he didn't yet fully understand. Something burning inside him, a quiet voice that whispered, "You were born to rise." Aarav's days began before the sun rose and ended long after it disappeared behind the skyline. He sold flowers at the traffic lights, dodging honking cars and impatient drivers, earning just enough to buy stale bread and a small bottle of water. His nights were spent in an abandoned construction site, huddled in a corner with other orphan children. No one knew where he came from, and he had no memory of his parents. All he had was a photograph, worn and faded, of a woman holding a baby with eyes just like his. But despite the hunger, the cold, and the bruises from 1,000 rejections, Aarav never stopped dreaming. When others slept, he'd stare at the stars and imagine a different life, a life where he wore shoes that fit, sat at a desk in a classroom, and had someone who waited for him at home. Everything changed the day Aarav met Mira. Mira was a volunteer teacher at a local community center. She noticed Aarav one rainy afternoon, standing at the corner with soaked flowers clutched in his trembling hands. Something in his eyes made her stop. She bought every flower he had, but instead of walking away, she knelt to his level and asked softly, "What's your name? Does it matter?" He replied, the walls around his heart high and strong. "Yes," she said with a warmth he hadn't felt in years.
"Yes."
"Every name has a story. Yours isn't finished yet." Mira began bringing him food, warm clothes, and slowly trust. The first time he saw books lined up on shelves and children laughing without fear, his throat tightened. Something inside him cracked open. He wanted to learn. He needed to learn. But rising wasn't easy. Their kids mocked him for his dirty clothes and broken shoes. He couldn't read simple words or write his own name. Every failure felt like a slap, reminding him of the cruel world outside. There were days he wanted to run back to the streets, back to the cold safety of what he knew. But Mira never gave up on him. She saw the fire in him, even when he didn't. "Fall as many times as you need," she'd say, "but rise one more time than you fall." With time, Aarav started catching up. He read books cover to cover, asked questions endlessly, and studied long into the night under streetlights. He worked part-time jobs to afford uniforms and school supplies, and eventually he earned a scholarship to a prestigious school in the city. He was 15 by then, still the poorest boy in the class, but no longer the most invisible. The journey ahead wasn't smooth. There were moments of doubt, losses, and failures. But each time life tried to pull him down, Aarav rose higher, graduated with honors, gave speeches about resilience, and shared his story not as a tale of pity, but of power. Years later, Aarav stood on a grand stage in front of thousands as he received the National Education Award. Dressed in a crisp suit, eyes shining with humble pride, he looked into the crowd and said, "I was born with nothing, no parents, no home, no hope. But I had one thing no one could take away, the belief that I was born to rise. Every one of you here carries that same fire, no matter where you come from, no matter how low life brings you rise. Rise, not for the world to see you, but for you to see the world. Because once you rise, you'll help others rise too." In the front row, Mira wiped tears from her eyes. She had seen the boy in the shadows and believed in the man he would become. Aarav's story became a beacon for thousands of children like him. He founded schools, shelters, and scholarships. But he never forgot his roots. Every year, on the same rainy afternoon he first met Mira, he'd return to that same street corner, not as a memory but as proof. Proof that no one is too broken to rise, that greatness isn't born from comfort but from struggle, and that sometimes all it takes is one person to see you, for you to finally see yourself. Aarav was never just a street kid. He was a seed buried deep in the dark, and like all seeds he was always born to rise.